Hey guys, it's me, Sean, and
Me, April.
we are now here in the same room. And this is our next episode of Let Me, the Journey. Today we're talking about, actually, April and I started talking about something, and she had an idea and a thought, and so we're gonna sit down and uh, talk about some stuff. That's clear. All right, talk about some stuff. We're gonna do
Okay,
that.
let's talk about some stuff.
What stuff are we talking about today?
So, the name of our show is Let Me the Journey, and by now you know what that stands for. Our audience knows what it stands for. This morning, I ventured out to go see what the sunrise looked like. And as I was walking along, thinking, okay, this is really what Let Me is about enjoying the beautiful area that we have and enjoying the sunrise and the quiet and the birds and the otters and everything else that I got to see this morning. One of the things that crossed my mind is the rest of the world is going on around me. And right now, as we're videotaping this, we have uh, there's a significant amount of racial tension in our country that was prompted once again by an incident where a police officer overstepped his bounds and his authority and ended up, for lack of a better word, murdering a citizen um, through use of excessive force and disregard for humanity. And so as I was walking along, I was thinking about how do you live every tiny moment exceptionally, and how might somebody misinterpret that acronym? And for me, some people, when they talk to us, it's about showing pictures of things that are beautiful and enjoying the moment, and enjoying nature, enjoying music and art and all that other great stuff that each one of us goes to when we want to just enjoy life. But there are other ways, in my mind, to live life exceptionally, living the moments, even when things are tense around us. And part of it is being immersed in the tension and determining what does that look like to be exceptional when there's a lot of chaos around you. So I want to ask you, Sean, since Let Me really is your baby. I mean, it is your idea. Is what are you doing right now as being part of what's going on in the country when things are getting tense, as we're coming out of the COVID quarantine and we're jumping once again into this tension, racial tension.
So Let Me was born um, out of, to kind of use the lack of a better term, in spite of all the things that go on, right? And so I say it that way to bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back to show how it's actually connected. But each one of us deal with stresses of life. We deal with tensions of life. You can pick a race, you can pick a culture, you can pick an age, you can pick a sexual orientation. You could pick, like, we could take one person and they have their struggles that are significant, and only they or the people who understand life the way they do will understand. You have people who suffer mental illnesses, depression. You have people who suffer like racial tension, like in this country right now. We have another demonstration of what it's like to be a man of like myself. I'm a man of color. I'm a big man of color, and the reaction that sometimes happens because I'm out somewhere and I'm doing something, and and somebody may wonder, and the tension and the creation that happens when like I take pictures everywhere. I took I'm actually segue to a story. I was out walking one day a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I looked like a Christmas tree threw up on me. I had on bright red pants. I had on bright green shirt because I want to be seen and not ran over. But I'm also a dance fitness instructor that wears bright clothes because of that. And I saw a fence that had a happy face sign, and it said "Smile, you're on camera." And that was a very closed up fence, and it's all wood, so I can't see anything. And so I'm standing in the middle of the road, and I took a picture of it. And somebody saw me doing that, and they stopped. And they drove by me, they stopped, did a U-turn, came back, and the guy asked me, "Why am I casing the joint? Why am I casing his friend's house?" And I didn't have a problem with the question of, checking if somebody's doing something to their friend's house. I had a problem with the terminology casing. And that was a personal thing, like, but I laughed it off and I said, I'm taking a picture of a fence and there's nothing to see here. And I just pointed out, I'm like, there's actually nothing to see here. The house was, I mean, I didn't know there was a house there. There's nothing but woods where I was. And I just like, I like the funniness of the picture because I'm taking pictures all the time. I take pictures of people's houses all the time. I take pictures of things. And so anyway, fast forward to what we're doing now. So every day we deal with something. As a woman, you have women issues that are pertinent to you. As a Caucasian woman, Italian descendant, I mean, they're, and so Let Me was created in spite of all of that because we all have it. And that doesn't mean that we ignore the world, we ignore the things that are pertinent in the world, but it means that we make sure that we are taking those breaks and those times in that moment to share the things we love. And so actually I wanna change Let Me to the point of it isn't just about pictures. It's about sharing the things we love in general, right? And letting people in to those things. So as a black male from Los Angeles, I share with you the things I loved about growing up and about my people, about my culture, about my things, and I bring you in, and so you get to see that. You get to be around my family and the craziness that it is, and our family here. I have a blended family here in Washington, but it's about inclusion and showing. So it's not just pictures. It's about when you tell me stories about your childhood and growing up Italian Catholic in New York. You know what I mean? I had no, I have an idea what Italians are in New York. Right? I've seen one of the Godfather movies. I'm actually, don't kill me, but I have not seen all the Godfather movies. I actually own them on DVD. I've never seen all of them, but my stereotype of what Italians are from New York are mafioso. Right? So I'm like, everybody's mafia, right? Right? And luckily for me, I have been to Italy a couple of times in the military, and that taught me a lot. But that's what it's about. It's about how do we get out into letting people in and experiencing life that way. And I think I've been talking like 20 minutes, so I'm gonna stop talking now. Um, that answer the question.
It does, actually. And it actually made me think of two things related to this is, yeah, it is for me, Let Me is getting out and doing a thing like I did this morning and going out and just enjoying, but it's also, it gives me an opportunity to slow down. Because one of the things that I noticed with everything that's going on is people are reacting and not recognizing, in my opinion, not everybody. I hate to I hate to paint people with a broad stroke, but in general, the things that I see online, a lot of them are a reaction, and some of it's warranted. I mean, there's a lot of outrage, but outrage to me is like it's a quick flame. It's this huge burst, and then once the fuel for that goes away, the outrage goes away, and then we don't necessarily make a change. And so how do we, like how do I participate in the outrage, express my own anger and outrage about what's going on, but also make sure that it doesn't just go by the wayside and then we don't get into the same cycle. And so one of the things that I do, not just in this instance, but in with the COVID virus, with previous controversies that have come out in the news, is one of the things is just to be able to slow down and say, okay, what am I thinking? What am I feeling right now? How do I sort between those? And how do I make sure that I'm not part of the problem, that I'm contributing something to that discussion to either help somebody understand it the way that I understand it, but even more importantly, and you and I had this discussion over the last 2 days, is how do we get our understanding across, but not let that be a barrier to listening to another person's point of view.
Mhm.
For me, I have to just stop talking and just listen and be aware that as I'm listening, I can't be listening to want to react.
Nope.
I have to say, okay, what am I hearing that is different than what I'm used to or what I'm comfortable with or what I expected to hear? And then how can I use what I learned by listening to another person to help other people understand and maybe even help other people understand my position, or my understanding of the world. Like one of the things, and you and I have talked about this already, and I'm just going to share this here, is one of the things that I've heard from people, primarily folks, right now the media keeps using people of color. So if you say whether you're African American, Hispanic, or what have you, a couple of my friends who would be considered, according to social media, people of color, have said, well, as a white person, what are you going to do about it? And my question, you and I have had this discussion, my question is, what am I supposed to do about it? And that was a question that's been in my head, is what power do I have? Because people will talk about white privilege and white power. What power do I have? And how can I use that power to affect change? And again, I don't want to be reactionary. If I'm going to do something, I want it to be meaningful, I want it to be effective. I don't know if it will be. I guess time will tell. But that's one of the ways that I think I can live in this kind of moment and this kind of tension exceptionally.
Yep.
Is listen to understand, make sure that I don't downplay my own understanding. That's a valid point of view too, as far as I'm concerned. And don't participate in discussion that's not productive,
Mhm.
And I think just keeping the eye on what I think could happen, even if it seems a little idealistic. Like we talk about wanting to have racial equality. And I'm of the belief that equality is not possible, but I think you continue to strive for it. I think it's an ideal, and I think you keep working for it.
Mm.
And if that's what we're trying to do, when a person engages, for instance, I'm going to go right into the current situation. When a person engages with a police officer, the treatment of the individual needs to be the same, and it's up to the police officer to apply that treatment similarly. And I am also of the belief that police officers need to be held to a higher accountability. I don't think all police officers are bad. I think that I would hope that a minority number of them are of the mindset that people should be treated differently because of whether it's their gender or their race or sexual orientation or region. But I think that police officers need to be held to a higher account because their primary job is to protect us and to serve us, even if it is in protection and service against each other, meaning against citizens. They need to be the arbiter of justice when it comes to those situations. And I think some of them have failed atrociously at that job. So I think I went long on that one. I think I kind of got off on a tangent.
But, and this is that what people don't get. So I've always talked, and I teach workshops, and we teach these workshops, and in the workshops, I tend to talk about how, one, we never speak in anger, right? A lot of people say things in anger that they don't necessarily mean in actual life, in their real day-to-day life. And the reason when we respond in anger, we're responding in a way to either hurt the person we're talking, persons we're talking to get them away from us, or to defend ourselves and make somebody feel as bad as we feel in the situation, right? We're not speaking to be clear. We're not speaking to help. We're not speaking to understand or clarify. We're speaking out of defense of whatever made us feel that way. So I'm not gonna go into the um, deep into the what's going on right now, especially because we don't know when this is going on. But for clarification, we did just have, and you said it earlier in the thing, we had a a black male um, detained while being handcuffed. A officer had his knee on his neck and didn't release it, even though the man screamed he couldn't breathe, and the man died right there and was pronounced dead on the ambulance ride from uh, from that being detained, and it was videoed. And because of that, police officers were fired. There's protests and riots now in Minneapolis. And so that's what's going on right now. By the time we see this, by the time this re-airs and all this, there may be something else that happened. But the reason I don't talk about specifically that, I talk about how we react and and how this relates to what our show is about and that positivity. When I slow down and I say and I go, okay, so what is going on? And we keep asking that thing. We said, what is going on? We ask our Caucasian friends and the people around us, and we say, right now there's memes, and we say, white America, what are you going to do? And so what we're doing is we're challenging people to do something. The problem with challenging people to do something is they don't know what to do. And April can come in and say, I sympathize with you, Sean, but I may not want sympathy. And so she's authentically trying to just tell me that, hey, I'm here for you, and I get reactive because I'm tired of sympathy. I'm tired of whatever that is. And so what happens is we create this divide once again, and she feels, if I react wrongly, she feels attacked. If I react impassionately, um, we don't listen to each other. We don't hear, right? She starts to have to defend her stance because I go, hey, April, you're over 40 years old. Why are you just now being enraged by this? And when we've actually had a conversation about that, and I said in my reaction to all this has been very right here. I haven't gotten up, I haven't gone down, and I will actually speak about it at some point in one of our thoughts at some point. But I've been like this for the whole time, and and the truth is, this type of thing, inequality, I've seen my whole life. I'm 45 years old, right? So how do we bring each other in? And this is where I connected to LETME. When I live in every tiny moment, the moment at hand right now is a hard one. It's a hard pill to swallow. It makes people want to defend. As a father of black male sons, I've been teaching my sons how to deal with police officers and everything forever. But I've also been teaching my friend here the difference between how we deal with things like being pulled over by police, being pulled over, because the ingrained and knowledge. But so we say live every tiny moment. So this moment is about this and exposing of one of our wounds as a nation. But the last word in that is exceptional. And to live it exceptionally means to work with grace, patience, understanding, and to give it. So a lot of people are religious and they're, God. I am not religious, right? But I find that many people are failing to understand the grace. If I can't explain it to her, my point of view, then I don't understand my point of view. And she cannot help me. She can't help me combat it. We don't have solutions, we have arguments. To be exceptional means that I'm going to do something that is more than what is normal, right? When we live every tiny moment exceptionally, that means, okay, in this moment, I have a problem and it is exposed. How do we heal this? I can't fix it myself, right? She can't fix it herself. We can't fix it ourselves, but we can start to find the things that we can. One is talking about understanding. One is saying, not every, and one is not taking one extreme and then flipping it to the other, right? If I'm saying I'm being targeted as a black man, it doesn't mean I want to all of a sudden start targeting white men. That doesn't make it equal. You know what I'm saying? That just and I'm going to say this, and I'll you know, I thought about this today, and I'll use it here. People don't want change in the way things are. People want to be treated equally in the way things are. I.e., when we see the memes of, we had a picture of one of the uh, guys who shot up the black church, right? And he's handcuffed on a police car, and the police officer is giving him water because is actually giving, I believe it was him, giving him water, you know, putting water, like hand feeding him water because the guy needed a drink. And you see a picture of the difference between a African American who did something not even remotely the same. So this guy killed 9 people, 9 black people in church. And so when you look at it, you go, okay, what I want and what people are asking for and what people need is, see, the treatment that they gave the white guy should be the treatment they give everybody, because it is not the police officer's job to dish out judgment. It's their job to just detain, arrest, and let the court system do their job. So I want to detain at the lowest level of force possible. And when I have you in detention, I want to treat you like a human. That's equality, to be treated like a human. So what people's anger is about is not being treated like a human. So that goes back to the exceptional part. No matter what my feelings are, how angry I am, how upset I am, how hurt I am, or anything, I want to be able to make sure that I'm treating people like human. You know, and if we really want to look at it in a big scheme of things, LETME is about, like she said, slowing down, getting yourself under control, and trying to figure out how can I help this moment. And then I talk forever.
No, and that's good. I mean, your point is exactly right. And you can, when you said, what can I do at this moment? I think the most important word there is I. We've been talking about, like I said, you know, people say, well, what are white people going to do? What are black people going to do? I can't control all people. I can control me.
Yes.
And you and I are both in positions where we can, and many of our, you know, people watching are in the same position where we can actually influence other people by leading by example. I mean, the fact that you and I are friends, the fact that you and I talk about some things that other people would shy away from, and sometimes get in some really bristly conversations, because through the bristle is where you get the understanding, and not walk away and go, you know what, you just don't understand what it means to be white. You'll never understand what it means to be white. I'll never understand what it means to be black. But the only person that can explain to you what it's like to be me is me.
Exactly.
And the minute I shut up and stop saying and say, you know what, you just never understand, shut you down, or react to you, get angry at you because you don't understand me, that's getting us absolutely nowhere. No. I mean, absolutely nowhere. And so, and that may, you know, like, that may sound negative, but actually it's really positive. Sometimes you got to get knee deep into it. But like you said, you have the grace when you're in those moments where you go, okay, let me open up and let me listen to what's going on. I may not always agree. I may not even agree with your interpretation of, you know, the events, but it's your interpretation. It's not for me to tell you how you should see something. You know, it's up to me to listen and for me to be clear on what I think or what I interpret things to be, and not be so reactive or so desiring of being ignorant to allow it to continue. This is probably again a bristly place to go, but one of the things that I was thinking this morning as I was walking is that line where people are saying, you know, white people need to do something. And the thought crossed my mind, and I thought, okay, hold on a second. If we have a problem with white power, why the hell are you giving me more? You know, I thought, wait a minute. It's like you said, it's not me that's going to solve the problem. It's not you that's going to solve the problem. We have got to slow down and, first of all, start with listening and start with understanding. And please, by gosh, do not give me more power, because that's just the continuation of what we already have. I understand that's not what that statement fully means, but in my head, it basically is saying, I'm absolving myself of all responsibility. I'm now giving it all to you. Please don't do that. Like, that's the way I feel. I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah.
We've got to be able to work together. And if it's going to be equal, it means that we're not only going to get equal rights, but we've got to take equal responsibility for what's going on. Like you said, burning down a business is not a viable solution to a cop killing a guy.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Getting our system to work, holding the police accountable, holding our system accountable on the same measure, regardless of who you are, to the best of our ability, that's where we need to do it. And that, to me, that's applying our system exceptionally and holding each other to an exceptional standard and saying, no more, that can't happen. And again, going back to that most important word is me. So when I'm living my life, I'm being mindful of how am I either helping or hurting the current situation.
Yeah. I'm going to add, and I know we're going to run out until we're getting too close to our ending time for this particular thing, but I'm going to add, and we may actually go over, I don't know. I'm going to add this. When you hear somebody say, and this is part of the communication problem that we have, right? So I see people saying, what are white people going to do? And April is very right. You know, it makes her go, okay, what are you're giving me more power? But I think when we talk about our communication, when we're talking about living those moments, we're talking about how we portray this information. See, when I say something like white people need to do this, you automatically say, what do I need to do and how can I do something? Or like you just said, why are you giving me more power if I'm part of the power problem? And you go, what's missing in the statement, because we don't ask it right, we don't say it right, is we need, and I've said this to April many times. It's probably the first time I've said it on the show here, and I've said it in my show thoughts for sure. The people in power are the people that have to make the change. That has always been my statement. The people in the power position has to be the people to help to make the change, and it has to be an inclusion type thing. When somebody says, "What are white people going to do?" That is the true statement of that statement is, we need your advocacy to fix this problem. We need your work to fix this problem. We need your hands to help clean the blood off of all of our hands, right? We can't just go in and pick out, I'm going to use this term, you have a bunch of children out there. We can't go out there and just pick out the white children and say, okay, these ones are safe. We can't just pick out the black children and say these are safe. We have to pick out the children. We have to go, doesn't matter if I'm picking up a black kid, a white kid, a Mexican, Hispanic kid, a Native American kid, or whatever. I'm picking up a kid and I'm getting them safe because what we need to do is we need to fix a problem, right? And we need to be, and so when you hear you need to be just as outraged, and you need to be, and you should, because it's not about the fact that I'm black. It's about the fact that I'm black and I seem to be disproportionately attacked by people who are supposed to protect me. Because I'm black, and if I committed a crime, I should go before the magistrate. I should have a fair trial. I should have the ability to be represented, whether no matter my income or my finances, and I should be able to be given a sentence that is universal throughout our nation. Universal. So, and I'm telling you, as a guy from LA, we expect those 15, 20, 25, 30-year sentences. We expect it because the system has traditionally done that to us and to minorities and to people, and even impoverished people. You see it, and you see this in, we don't get to see this, but you see this in places like the trailer parks in down south, where a white kid who's from the slums will get those many years because they don't have the means. See, that's not equality. See, I don't mind somebody going to jail. I don't mind police doing their job. I don't mind that. You gotta do your job. I was military. I understand this. But how we help is the project that helps people, the innocent project. Putting lawyers in a position that are going to look at cases and go, hold on, we need to make sure this person had a fair trial, and that he or she wasn't railroaded by the thing. But I know we're going to go over 30 minutes because I need to say this. Thinking about the things we've seen. If we're going to ask for justice, we're going to ask for equality, and this goes across the board. Anything across the board, whether it's women's rights, whether it's the your body, your right, black, racial equality, sexual equality, religious equality, anything. We will never do it if we sit idly by and watch the abuse of that same power to the other people, right? The officers in charge and command. I kept saying I'm not going to go into this, but the officers in command they were fired immediately, and the investigation was open. If I want the judicial system to work, then I need to sit back and say I want these officers accountable. I want an investigation properly done. I want them once the investigation is done, I want those guys to face a trial because I believe that they murdered this man. They abused their power. But I don't want a decision made off of what I believe. I don't want to see somebody fired because they might have done something. I want them investigated and I want it done right so that we can see the system work out the way it's supposed to. So we don't have a Brock Turner incident where you see a guy who was convicted of raping a woman and got 6 months probation because, as the judge said, this could ruin his life. Where you have many minority and impoverished men in jail for being accused of rape that they did not commit.
Well,
and that's a whole other Pandora's box. So I'm not going to open that.
No, but you did mention something of power that all of us have, and I think one of the things that as American citizens we're not always informed of this, but like judicial review is an outcome of electing our judges. Judges are appointed, but some of them are elected. And electing our police commissioners and when you see those community signs where it says, I don't know, Tom Smith for sheriff. That's not a real sheriff, by the way. I'm just making that name up. Tom Smith for sheriff, and you go, well, I like his sign, or he's a Republican, or he's my neighbor, or whatever. Even the smallest, not smallest, but the lesser positions in local government is get to know who these people are because they will make their way up the ranks. First of all, they're going to have impact whatever elected position they hold, even a school board, for instance. I mean, I'm a teacher, and we're seeing that this year is a direct impact of certain people being appointed to our school board and the way that it's affecting policy and the inequality in school and so on. But even that, like just even these lesser positions in government is use your power to vote, because I guarantee you in Minneapolis, for instance, which is what really was the impetus for this conversation, is the mayor has come out and said some things, and he thinks he's doing the right thing, but really when you listen to what he's saying, it somewhat sounds like appeasement. And I'm not making a political statement. I'm just saying it can be perceived that way. And so we need to be more intentional, more exceptional with the way in which we exercise the power that we do have in our jobs, in our ability to vote, our participation in civil discussion online. I mean, we have this responsibility. We absolutely do, and we can affect change. I mean, your words are very powerful. Conversations that we have online impact people. If you have that power, then you use that power to make changes, and the changes may be slight, and we may never even feel them in our lifetime. I mean, you and I we're in 40s and 50s, and it's like we may never see it, but we may see these little incremental changes. And guess what? I don't need to see this huge change to know that we're heading in the right direction.
I think One of the things I like to talk. So I like to try to bring it back to the Let Me, right? And Let Me is about, if you watch the episodes, you see what we're talking about. We like to go places. We sit back and we take pictures of things, and we're social distancing. We have masks that we wear and everything like that right now. Um, if I go out somewhere and I'm out taking pictures and I'm having a good old time, but I want to listen to my music, so I turn the radio on in my car and I rock it out. Somebody else pulls up and they want to sit and just watch the waves. My music is affecting their enjoyment, right? So when I see somebody come up, I turn my music down because I don't want to infect their judgment. But they come in and they start talking and they're having a good old time, just loud, whatever. Now they're affecting my enjoyment. The thing we don't see is we want to see big changes in the world. We don't recognize the small changes in the world. We don't recognize when somebody's courteous to us and they turn the music down. And then in turn we do the same thing by keeping our conversations, closer to each other. You know, and we don't understand the impact of effect. Like I remember me and her, we went for a walk and we saw a jellyfish, big old jellyfish by the bank. And so I'm standing there and I'm trying to video this jellyfish. This couple walks behind us, and like I said, it's a walkway, it's a whole walk. This couple walks behind us, and they're looking at the ships because right across from the naval base, the naval shipyard. They stand right behind us and start having a conversation about seals and all these things. Now, I'm not saying we're in a place like this. We are literally outside. They could have been anywhere having that conversation. Her and I are standing there quietly, obviously doing something with our cameras, and they have this loud conversation behind us. And I make a comment going, I was trying to record, and I told her, I'm like, I'm trying to record. This is passive aggressive, by the way. I'm trying to record, but apparently the seal is important because that's what they were talking about, the seal. And they had this, and then they were like, oh, we should go. And then they finally, and they didn't say that to me. They still stayed there for a couple of minutes. But by the time they left, the jellyfish was gone, and and so they kind of ruined our moment. Now I could have turned them in like, dude, seriously, but I shouldn't have had to. See, we don't recognize the small changes. We don't recognize how we affect people, how our attitude affects people, how our responses affect people. Our words affect people, and so it's about the little things. And I'm gonna use one more analogy.
Can I address that real quick?
You can, but I'm gonna get that one last analogy, right? So one last analogy: if you smoke cigarettes, right? You walk down the street, you smoke cigarettes. You're like, I'm outside. I drive my car, and cigarette smoke comes in my car. You have no idea that your cigarette smoke just went in my car. That it made my wife cough because she's asthmatic. You're outside. You're smoking a cigarette. You are 20 feet away from me, and your smoke is coming in my car, and you have no idea. That's what this is like. We don't understand the impact of our effect on things. And this is so when we look at things and we say we may not see the effects of the impact, change right now. No, we do. We don't pay attention until it's big. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of small impacts. Like April teaches differently because of our friendship. In my first book, she uses that in her thing. I treat people differently because of our friendship. And the work we've done in our first book, and somebody who's had my back since day one of our friendship and how we've done this, right? We are different. We don't notice it until all of a sudden we're on our own TV show and we're like, tell us about how you guys started, and we're laughing about that, right? We notice the big things. The big thing it takes a lot of small things. So now, go ahead if you remember what you were going to say.
No, I do. So the whole jellyfish incident, I think Sean and I agreed and disagree on that whole thing. He's absolutely right. The people did walk up exactly the way he described it. The way that I look at what they did was they and we do this too. I'm not perfect in this respect too, but they walked up and they weren't mindful of other people. Do you know what I mean? I mean that, and so that's I guess what kind of got me with that is rather than taking stock in what was going on around us, and I do it instead of taking stock and first of all, greeting a person, even if the greeting itself would have interrupted the video, but just taking stock about what's going on and saying, I want to share this space because we share this space and we share this space with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that we will be happier. Even the smokers will be happier if we are more mindful of people, of what's going on around us and the potential impact that we have on that person. You know, we can coexist. I know that's kind of a bumper sticker label, but still, I mean, we can coexist. And I think the first way we do it is we need to be aware that we have a responsibility that we share space with people. And honestly, I think one of the ways that I think we can improve things is just by greeting people. The minute you break the barrier between two individuals passing one another and say hello, there is some human spark that happens that all of a sudden you have some compassion for that person. I think kind of bringing it a little full circle to what we were talking about with the thing in Minneapolis is when we're afraid to engage with someone because they're different than us, because we have this preconceived notion of what that person's going to be like and what hatred they might have for us or disdain that they have for us, I think we miss an opportunity to have the understanding. You know, so even the jellyfish incident, when those people walked up, if it was us, I mean, I would hope, I don't know if I would do this, but I would hope that I'd walk up, I'd take a look at what was going on. If I couldn't tell, because you could have been taking a picture as opposed to a video, who knows? But, say, hey, what are you guys looking at?
Mm-hmm.
And just that to me shows humanity. And they're like, and hey, I'm videoing. You want to check this out? I'm going to videotape this, so we got to be quiet, And then all of a sudden, that whole situation is completely different. And instead of, like you said, even that desire to be passive aggressive, even that moment changes completely. All of a sudden, we're together living that moment.
Yep.
And it gets frustrating when people are not mindful. And again, we're not perfect, but even just taking that one step of engaging other human beings and just being more aware that we share the space
and giving grace.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Yeah,
when you give grace to people and give grace to the moment, they maybe don't understand. Maybe they don't recognize, they don't realize it. And you say it. And sometimes, and there's times where I'll say something and say, hey, we're trying to do this, this, and this. Oh, I'm so sorry. And people, because we are caught in our own world. In this particular situation that we have going on in the world right now, as a black male, I'm caught in my own world. I can be very caught in my own world because I'm watching something happen again. That's happened too many times, way too many times to be ignored. And so because I'm caught in here, I don't hear somebody begging to help me over here. And so we're not living in that moment. We're being captured. We're being imprisoned by that moment. And we don't say prison every moment exceptionally, every tiny moment exceptionally. We say live it. And living it is I'm going to open the doors because I can't climb this ladder alone. I can't build this ladder alone. I can't get ahead alone. We do not exist on this planet alone. I mean, we can't segregate all the races and the mixes and stuff like that. And because all that would do is cause more war anyway, right? Because that's not what humans are. We're creatures. I mean, our color doesn't make us, anything any different. And we shouldn't be, looking at each other like that. Like people say, I'm a big, scary black guy. Dude, I know more white dudes that are bigger than me. I'm like, wow, what the hell do they feed you over there, right? Give me a Nebraska boy. I guarantee you 90% of Nebraska boys are bigger than my butt, right? But here, I'm scarier. No, there's lots of scary people. And that when we understand each other, we go to understand each other, then we can live that moment.
Yeah. I think we also, I love that word grace because I think there's a lack of graciousness that can be fixed. I mean, can be regained. And
if we pause.
And I think part of it is there's a lot of distrust that goes on, and I think somebody's got to crack that and be willing to be vulnerable. And when I say that, I don't mean vulnerable like take advantage. I mean vulnerable going, so tell me what it's like.
Yeah.
And for me to shut down, sorry, I was like giving me goosebumps. For me to shut down and stop with my ego and stop with my arrogance and stop with what April already thinks and go, okay, tell me what it's like. I'll never know, but I can listen.
And you're going to be attacked. Trust me. When you deal with something we're deep into this. This is one of those topics.
This might be a two-parter.
This might be, I don't know. People probably tuned out by now, but and it goes across the board about everything. You're gonna when you have somebody tell you what they think, they're telling you from their personal experience and their point of view. When I'm gonna bring a whole other aspect in, and it's catered to women, right? When the hashtag Me Too movement came out, right? It was, oh my God, there was a lot of women, and they were sharing their they've been raped or touched or assaulted or abused or stories. It was, I mean, I'm on Twitter and all these things. Me too, me too, me too. And at one point, I responded to somebody on Twitter, and I was explaining from my point of view as a guy. This young lady, went off on me, right? Just went off on me, and an interesting thing happened. My business partner responded, but like 7 or 8 other people responded saying, "Why are you going off?" Because I explained myself after that I responded, and then I was like, "I'm done responding." And she was mean to me, right? Just so judgmental, and you don't understand. And so I had like 6 or 7 women respond to that thread saying he was actually agreeing with you. He was saying that he understands and he's actually on the side of this, but you are so wanting to be a victim, you don't even hear it. And I was like, and I was done. I never went back to the conversation. I liked everybody who said, and I was like, I'm done because I'm not arguing with people for the sake of arguing. But I wrote it made me write a blog, and I wrote a blog, and I titled it, "I Didn't Know I Was a Rapist." That is a serious title. For the record, I'm not a rapist. But I said that, and I wrote it at that time, and I shared it social media. April shared it to social media. She shared it to a friend. A friend actually responded to her that I triggered her in my post. The thing was, not once did I attack women. Not once did I attack the Me Too movement. Not once did I diminish or derail or minimize the fact of some of the fear that comes with, being a smaller person. Like, I can overpower April. She can get the best of me. I mean, at any given time. But the more likely case is I can overpower her. If I wanted to assault her, I'm more likely to do it because I have bigger physical ability to do that. Doesn't mean I'll win. I'll get to it, but the sheer, on paper, this is what that is. She's probably going to beat me in a spelling bee. I can beat her, but she's probably going to beat me. She's an English teacher, right? And I spell like crap. But I wrote this story. I wrote this thing that said, and so many people avoided it, or they read it and they hit the points that they went, oh, this is because they felt they had to defend themselves. The problem is, I write to help people understand, not to prove I'm right or that I know everything or anything like that. It is, here's a thought, run with it, and I open for discussion. But when you say stuff when you hear somebody tell you something, you're going to hear some stuff that's prickly, and it's going to hurt you. And if you're not listening to understand their point of view, you're going to try to defend yours. And then we get back to this battle. And that's why so many people avoided that thing. Yeah. Even though April was like, when she shared it to her group, she was like, I want to know what you guys think. Avoided it. Because they know I'm a guy. How dare I talk about Me Too? How dare I associate these things? Right. And we're not open to be wrong. Right. We're not open to hear that somebody else's point of view of what they saw in us and our actions may be not what we thought we were doing. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people act like I'm not racist, and I'm not, I go with grace. Guess what, black folks, you can be racist. right? And a lot of times we show some racism, but we don't go. We don't recognize because no one can point it out. And when somebody does, I can go, well, you don't understand. It's been 400 years,
Right.
right? And here I go because I'm not taking stock of what she's saying. I'm taking stock of what I'm hearing and how I'm going to defend it.
Right.
Right? So that's my
So actually, you made me think about this. Like when you look at some of the things that are on social media that people are talking about, one of the things that I notice is there's a preponderance of people that want to react to the attacks. So when somebody says something like name calling or nastiness toward this other side, like maybe a liberal says something about a conservative says something liberal, a man says something about a woman or whatever it is, people are more interested in scrapping, to be like back and forth instead of taking reading something that's somebody's perspective and saying this isn't an attack. First of all, it has to be written that way. I think if you're just going to come out and just say, well, you're a freaking idiot, I don't want to. First of all, I don't want to engage with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing is we literally fuel that kind of idiocracy when we engage with it. When you have somebody that says, okay, this is my point of view, it's not an attack. I want you to read it. It is what I believe, right? And can we talk about this? Unfortunately, those pieces don't always get the attention that the other pieces do. And I don't know if it's our lack. People say it's our lack of attention, our desire to fight, or our lack of desire to actually change or understand. I don't know what it is, but that's one thing that I've noticed is that people aren't willing to slow down. Some people are not willing to slow down and consider another point of view to understand it and have a discussion about it.
There's one addition to that, and I inform people. This is one other thing we teach us at one of our workshops, communication workshop. You don't have to go to the fight that you're invited to, right? When I respond to somebody's page, like recently I responded to a buddy of mine said something about the president, and I responded to his post about the president. The moment I responded to his post about something that's inflammatory or that can ignite sides, is very divisive, I opened the door to people who don't agree with me. Right? A lot of times we say things and we don't expect the reaction. I want to be able to say all white people are racist, and then I don't want to say and then not deal with her going, oh, hold up, oh, whoa, hold up, hell no, right? Because I don't want to hear the thing. So people want to say things. It's different when you say things on your page or your post or your thing. You can deal with who you deal with or whatever that you engage. But when you go out there, like right now, we're out here in public and we're saying things, and so we don't have to engage with everybody that responds to this video, right? But we also can't ignore the fact that some people are going to listen to this video and have a lot of things to say negative and positive, but that's going to happen because we're putting it out there to the public. And it's when you say something, it is up for critique. It is up for disagreement. It is up for somebody thinking you're a dang idiot, right? And that doesn't mean that you are. It just means that that's what people do. And when I don't think we always want to take in the criticism. We want people to just accept that we're in this society. You know what I'm saying? I want people to just accept that what I'm saying is good. And I just want love. No, it's just the moment you put it out to the public, you put a video out there, you put out there, you have to also accept that not everybody's going to like it and everybody's going to agree with it. And it's okay that they don't.
Well, that's an opportunity for understanding.
Yeah.
Like if I put something out and I say, well, I think that everybody should wear blue. Obviously, that will we
Blue is the
espouse
day.
that idea. Okay, but everybody should wear blue. And someone says, well, I don't want to wear blue every single day. I want to have color. I want to wear different colors. I want to have my own choice. What I get to do. Somebody can disagree with me, and I can go nope, and shut it down, or I can delete them off my page, or I can say stop watching them. I've immediately closed the door to understanding because while I would like to wear blue every day, I have missed an opportunity to understand why somebody might not believe the same way that I do.
Yep.
And that potentially we could do both. That I can wear my blue every single day and they can wear their colors every day. And you know what I mean? And all of a sudden we're no longer adversaries or opponents. We're two people that just don't have the same point of view.
Yeah.
But we're not screaming and yelling at each other.
You absolutely have that.
Yeah.
Absolutely have that. So I think we literally talked for an hour, pretty close to it. And you might have to make this 2 episodes.
We might have to make this might be part 2.
It might be part 2. It might be part 1. I mean, we don't know how the local access is going to accept this one.
But we're very grateful to them.
We are. At some point, we'll be adding all the sponsored by and all these things and stuff. Because right now we're still very new in this. But here's the thing. Actually, we're going to end. Let's we can talk about this all day. We can go on forever on this. But let's end this and go back to. I'll let you go first. How for the people out there who are going through struggle, who are stressing out right now, who are having all these things, what's your advice to having them at this LETME into this moment right now? What would your suggestion be?
Well, I don't consider myself much of an advisor. I'd rather say, well, how do I lead by example? And that is for me, just like LETME would be sitting out and looking at the sunrise. It's also slowing down and listening to a conversation, being more intentional about which ones I participate in, and being intentional and aware of how my participation can make things better or worse. And that would be for me in a tense environment, is to participate that way exceptionally. What about you?
I would say this. Your struggles are no different than a lot of others. Not only the people that look like you, but looks different than you, right? The struggles we go through are very similar to other people, and if we are willing to listen and to be open to that, then we are able to slow down. We're able to understand, and we're able to find ways to find tools to help us deal with what we're dealing with, right? For me, when I want you to live every tiny moment exceptionally, I want you to take a breath. I want you to stop. I want you to pause where you are if you have a chance, and just sit and remember the world before you got angry, before you got hurt, before you're in this rage moment, and then react. So stop, pause, listen, breathe. In that moment, exceptionally. Take that breath and say, I want to try to figure out how to deal with this with grace. Because I want people to learn from us, not to feel guilty from us, not to feel attacked from us. Because I don't want to be attacked. And I don't want anybody else to be attacked. Right? And so do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's the same thing. So this is LETME the journey. Some days we gotta talk serious stuff. So I am Sean.
I'm April.
It's LETME. Till next time, we'll see you then.